Burgess, the chair of the Rules Committee. Chairman Burgess, you recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Fisher, not fair to do this to you, but I just wonder if you have any observations on the things that you've just heard about the Elysian fields of clean energy that we're now finding ourselves in.
I appreciate the question, sir. The thing that stands out to me is I keep hearing that new clean resources are the cheapest, they're affordable, they're the best. It is interesting to me that we would have to subsidize them to the tune of $3 trillion federal dollars if they are already the cheapest, and it's confusing to me why states would have to mandate these resources.
So I'm from Texas. We have our own electrical grid. May have heard about it. It's been in all the papers. So during the month of August, I come home and I watch what's happening on the ERCOT website. Texas is a leader in wind and solar. So last summer, a lot of solar energy was produced. That's a good thing. The problem is that the sun goes down. And it seems to be a predictable phenomenon. It occurs about in the summertime in Texas. It's about 8 p.m. in the time zone that I live in. People are getting home. They open their front door. They realize, oh my gosh, it's hot as hell in here. Crank up the AC. And just as they're cranking up the AC and driving electricity demand, the sun sets. And there is no energy on the grid. So several times, ERCOT on its website has put out a warning saying, hey, we're getting dangerously close to that imbalance period. You need to have the energy resources from reliable thermogenic resources like natural gas, like nuclear. And if you don't have that as part of your mix, I don't care how good you are in wind and solar. And Texas is good. They've made significant investments. They've made those with state dollars, not with federal dollars. And the other thing I'm just obligated to point out, I just came from a budget hearing. We have got a massive deficit problem in this country right now. So when we talk about a couple of $1 billion for a clean energy project, add 50% to that, because that's the carrying cost that you're going to be paying interest to the Chinese in order to do this thing that you want to do. Now look, I apologize for not being here the entire time. We've got 3 different hearings in 3 different buildings, and it's a challenge, as it always is. I heard my ranking member of the full committee disparage something he calls Project 2025. But Center for American Progress also has an agenda, and it's available. No one's talking about it very much. So I go on the website of Center for American Progress, and this is not just an incidental. I mean, the domestic policy advisor in the White House is the former head of the Center for American Progress, Neera Tanden. She's put in that job because it didn't require Senate confirmation, and she got herself in hot water with some other comments that she made that she couldn't go through Senate confirmation. But what I also found in looking at things on the Google machine, nobody really knows the donors behind the Center for American Progress. So, Mr. Chairman, I would like to submit for the record, here's an article from The Nation, hardly a right-wing enterprise, the secret donors behind the Center for American Progress. So this
Without
is
objection,
recently
so ordered.
updated. The other thing I'd like to submit for the record, I've been on this committee for a long time. In the middle of the pandemic, because of demand destruction caused by all industry having to shut down, albeit temporarily, but it still was a big disruption on our energy producing sector, and the price of oil plummeted. It seemed to me to be logical at that point in the middle of July of 2020 that with the price so low, this would be a very opportune time to build up our supplies in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Senator Cornyn and I had a bill to do just that. I also will submit for the record an op-ed, a brilliant op-ed, I might point out, written by Senator Cornyn and myself, about how the Strategic Petroleum Reserve should be replenished during this time of relatively low prices. And then we saw what happened literally 2 years later when President Biden decided there was a political emergency and he had to drain the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in order to prevent there being a bloodbath in the midterm elections. And yet we sit here today with a big tropical storm Francine churning in the Gulf, and all of the Gulf production is having to be shut in, albeit for a few days. But that's the reason you have a strategic petroleum reserve, because if something like that happens, then America doesn't suffer because of this natural disaster that's been visited upon us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I'm a little bit over. I apologize, and I'll yield back.
Mr.
Chairman
Chairman?
yields back, and without
Mr.
objection,
Chairman?
so ordered.
No,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, I would just point out that this article that the gentleman offers for admission to the record is dated May 22, 2013. It's 11 years old, but for whatever minimal use it might be, I will not object to its admission in the record.
Generally, it's correct, the date on it's correct, but